2 temporary pins in and hang 2 pairs in open formation on both of those, and put 2 twists on each of the pairs. And then we'll join the middle 2 together with a cloth stitch and 2 twists and put the pin up. And these are going to be the 2 workers and the 2 edge pairs for each direction. So those will be the edge pairs and these will become the 2 workers. And then we're going to lie the pairs in, and we want a single pair in each direction either side the gimp. So we'll put a pair in for below the gimp. Now on the pattern I have said that use cotton pearly 8, and when I came to get the thread out for this tonight I found I hadn't got 8 in the purple I wanted to use, so I have actually used a double strand of pearly 12. Not quite sure how it's going to work out, but we shall soon see. And then a pair above it, and this gives you the trail that we want, and then we'll start working through. Now when you come to the gimp, we twist the worker pair once, lift the left, take the pair through and twist the worker, twist the gimp, not the worker. And then we're going to bring the pair through from the other side in the same way. So you cloth stitch the first one, twist the worker once, lift the left, put it down and then twist the worker and cloth stitch the last one. Now with the positioning of these pins, I'm going to go the left pin in this pin here. Just zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to go the left pin to here and the right pin to there. I'm just going to have a look, see how it looks with this thicker gimp. As I say, I've not used this one before, but I think it will work right. And now I'm going to work in one direction. I'm going to put a bridge across to hold those while I work the right hand side. My pin cushion's in the way now. So I'm going to go backwards and forwards on this trail, twisting the worker, passing it through the gimp and twisting the gimp. Now it's twisting the gimp, which is right over left, not crossing as you would normally do. And then do the change of worker edge on the edge. I'm going to continue to work along here, adding pairs in at each plait, 2 pairs at each plait, until we get down to here. Once I've got this little bit laid in, I can start the ground and then I'll come back to you to start this wing. I'm now working towards the butterfly edge, or the tip of the wing, and I'll stop before I get there to start the wing. For this last pinhole I've actually got 1 on the inside and 2 on the outside, so I will use that last one twice. So just take it out and put it back under the worker, but don't catch the first loop that you've had around that pin. Now before I go back for the last pinhole, I'm actually going to get rid of this gimp because I don't want it in the wing. So all I'm going to do is to pass it through the passive on either side and take it to the back of the work to throw it out. So it's just gone through the 2 passives. And I'm going to work through to the outside pin. And your outside edge one plus your worker will become a plait, and the 2 passives will become the second plait to come into the wing. So look, just a little tiny plait and that will come into the wing. I'd carry on adding them all in this side, adding them all in there, adding the pairs in. That pair of gimps thrown out. So now we come to starting the wing. And where all of those pairs that we've put in are just left to the side for a moment. And we're going to start at the point. And we're going to start there with your worker pairs. So if you're putting a different colour in, you'll have two pairs. I'm going to put this nice purple in. I have a purple butterfly in this one. And we hang the two pairs on there. And we're going to do a false picot, which is 5 twists before the pin, a cloth stitch, or around the pin, a cloth stitch, and that's your false picot. Then I'm going to lie the pairs in for the butterfly's wing in both directions. Now just grabbing a handful of bobbins, and these will be hung in both directions. Just hang them on a temporary pin to start the working. Give me in any pinhole. And if you're using a coloured worker, it will dilute it as it mixes with the white or ecru that you're using. Which is quite nice because you get subtle changes in colour then, which is what gives you the nice deep colour and the antennae around the head. So I've got 3 pairs there, and we start work. Just start the trail as you would normally. Now at this point, because it is at a sharp point, the 2 workers are going to meet at the first pin on the inside edge. And I shall just have a look to see if it is 3 or 4 pairs once I've put this pin in. I think 3 pairs is fine. Now what you have to remember is to do picots on this edge, on the outer edge of the wing, until it gets to the trail, and then we change to winky pins. And on the inside edge obviously you're adding pairs for the plaits, the various bits of filling on the inside. So we're going to have an awful lot of bobbins on very quickly on here. First one straight away wants 2 pairs in. Now if you look at the diagram, you can see the direction of all this ground and the way it works. So all of these are coming out, the spots, all the way along here, all the way around there. But when you get down to this part here, then they start coming in and out. So just pay attention to those and the direction of them in the ground further on. So you have to get all the way around the left hand side of this right wing to be able to do the first row of ground down, and then you work the next row of ground down, and the horizontal ones are going across to the right. So it's just worth paying attention to that as you're working. Just carry on this trail until we get to the join with the plaits, and they will come in and then they will come through and become part of the ground as well. So now I've got to this last pinhole, and I'm taking this pair, 2 pairs in from the plait So because I'm taking them in and it's now going beyond the edge of the edge circle, it's now a winky pin. It's no longer picots on that edge. And I've taken 2 pairs in. I now have 5 pairs of passives on the trail, which means on the next plait I can leave 2 out rather than adding 2 pairs in. So this one is 2 pairs of passives left out, and I'll be able to do the half stitch spots shortly. So the next pinhole takes the next plait from the edge trail, and when you take them in as if there were 1 pair of coming in instead of 2, as this reduces the bulk at the join a little bit and makes it a neater join, and then just treat them as normal 2 pairs. Now I'm not going to be able to go too much further without doing some of the ground, because the ground starts coming into this trail. Right, I'm going to carry on and do a little bit more, but then I've got to do quite a lot of plaiting and ground in the centre to be able to continue with this trail. Don't forget winky pins inside the trail, the edge trail, the circular edging. I've got 5 in at the moment. I've got another plait left out, so again 2 passives can come out. Right, I'm just going to start doing all the plaiting now to get some of the ground done, and then I can start doing something else. And I've got to do a couple of leaf tallies in there as well, so we'll have a quick refresher on the leaf tallies in case you need that. So it's just a straight plait of ground with windmill crossings. You've got some blossom filling in there, but I'm not going to get to that on this row. And they're just picots around the windmill crossing. But I'll have to put in some more plaits to be able to get to one of those. Now, windmill crossings, just a cloth stitch, treating each pair as if it's a single, and putting the pin in before the last 2/3 move, or the last cross, depending which way you learnt. This one's a really little tight one up the top there. You have to look to spot some of these markings when they're very close to the edge. So what we have to decide is which direction we're going to go. Because you've got 4 coming in, you don't have a middle one. So you could actually start at the pin right at the top there and go to the left, or we could start from the left one and go to the right. I think I'm going to start from the top one and go to the left. So we just put a pin between the 2 pairs and we start the half stitch. Now there's different ways of doing the edge on half stitch spots. You can either just do an extra twist, or you can do a double half stitch on the edge. I don't know which one I did. I probably did the double half stitch on the edge on the original, because it does give a slightly firmer edge, so we'll go with that one today. So the last stitch is a double half stitch before the pin. If you want to do it just with a twist, an extra twist, you can. And we half stitch back across to take the next plait in. I'm doing a double half stitch. And then across to take the 4th one in. that would be an extra twist or a double half stitch. I tend to do just the extra twist on a smaller spot, and on a bigger spot I tend to do the double half stitch for firmer edge. So we've now got the pairs in the spot. We're halfway, because the next pin across we'll be leaving them out, and it's at this point that we then do the I'm just doing this plait down now, and I'll be doing the blossom in a moment. So this one is a 5-pin blossom on the butterfly, which I tend to use. I think it's an easier one to do than the 4-pin one. It's a different order of working the picots, and I think this one is somewhat easier for people if they're struggling to remember the sequence. So the left hand plait you make as long as the pinhole, the right hand plait you make as long as the top picot pin. So this one is made as long as the centre pinhole, because that's one that's going to do the windmill crossing. The right hand one does the picots, so it's made as long as the left hand top picot. So we make the left hand picot and we put it in the top pin. We do a half stitch between them and do the right hand picot, which is the one at 3 o'clock if you're looking at it square. And then you do a windmill crossing between them. Sorry, before you do that you do another half stitch, then you do the windmill crossing, then you do a half stitch with the left hand one and do a left hand picot with the pinhole at 9 o'clock, and a half stitch and a right hand picot. So all of the picots are done on the plait approaching diagonally from the right, and the left hand one just passes through with the windmill crossing in the centre of it. And then the one that's here now just does the continued plait and continues in the ground. And every time you've done a picot, always do a half stitch after it before you do a picot on the other side, and that prevents a hole appearing in the plait. If you get a little diamond shaped hole, it's because you've done a left hand picot with the left pair, a right hand picot with the right pair, and there's nothing in between them. So I'm coming up to the antennae now. So we'll carry on working right down to the crossing where the leaf tally starts, and we'll plait this right down. I've got the plait from the right coming in ready, and all we're going to do is a 6-pair crossing to add in the 2 coloured pairs for the leaf tally, which is part of the antennae. Now what I want the antennae to do is to go off from the left, so I'm going to add the 2 coloured pairs of the contrast colour on a temporary pin to the right hand side, so that when it finishes it will be on the left side here to work the leaf tally. So you just have to plan ahead when you're adding colour like this where you want it to go. So we'll do a 6-pair crossing, which if you've got your scissor keepers, if not it's in my books or I can put it on the screen afterwards, 2 over 3, 4 over 5, 4 over 3, 2 over 3, 2 over 1, 4 over 5, 6 over 5, and move your pin. Well, you can move that pin. And I am doing this without looking at it, so I'm hoping I'm getting it in the right order. 2 over 3, 4 over 5, 4 over 3, 2 over 3, 4 over 5. And that has given you the purple on the side where you want the leaf tally. Now I'm just going to plait these two to make sure that it pulls it up right close to the pin, and then I'll work the purple leaf tally. So just work this leaf. I'm just going to work that plait so it's in position. So I'll work this leaf tally. You'll notice there is a pinhole at the end of the leaf tally that isn't in the ground. It isn't strictly on the ground, but that's where you're working till, not the grid. If you can see that on your patterns. So there's a pinhole there, and then there's a tiny little bit of plait. So we don't want these leaves too big either, they're quite small leaves. A tiny bit of plait before the next plait comes across it. So we'll continue working and taking all 4 plaits into the half stitch spot, and then we'll stop at the pin on the opposite side after the next row when I've taken the 4th one in to make the raised and rolled tally. And this is done with the 2 central pairs of bobbins in the half stitch. So once I've worked the last plait in, which I've now taken into here, put the pin up, and then I find the centre 2 pairs to make the raised and rolled tally with. So these are the central 2 pairs. We've got 1 twist on from the half stitch already, put 2 further twists on, and I'm taking bobbin number 2 out the 4 to start weaving. Now we want quite a small tally in width, but the length wants to be 3 times the width. And I'm only making it small because these half stitch spots, the Bedfordshire buds, are quite small, and we don't want it to overwhelm the pattern. It just needs to be a little detail added in there. So continue weaving until we've got the correct length. If you make it a very fat tally, then obviously it's going to need an awful lot of length to balance it. And it just needs to be long enough to roll around the pin when you've finished. So again, if you've got very thick pins, then you'd need slightly longer tally than what I'm making today. It's approaching the length I want, just a little bit more weaving, another 1 or 2 weavings to get it to that length. I think we'll do 1 more. Okay, so I did 2 more there. And then when we're finished, we put 3 twists on each pair, left and the right side. I'm keeping the weaver nice and loose because I don't want that pulling up. I'm taking a pin, I'm putting that on top of the threads, and then taking the thread over, around and underneath. Put that pair down, swap hands to the other side, and take this one around in the same direction. Now you need to put this behind a temporary pin, and I'm going to put one in on the right just to hold it, and the one on the left I can probably get behind a pin that's already in. We just want it to sit nice and flat on the pillow, and then just gently ease it in place, and there you have a nice little raised and rolled tally. Now this process always puts a lot of extra twists on the right hand pair. No idea why, nobody can explain it, but it does. So we just need to take off some of those excess twists so that we're ready then to start working the half stitch to finish the Bedfordshire bud. And then once it's finished, we've got the 4 plaits coming out again, and they go straight back into the plaits. Having put the twists on, we just continue to work the half stitch, and once you've put a pin on the right hand side, the temporary pin that I put in to support that end can come out as well, because it will then be behind a pin. So at this pin you've got a plait coming out. I can take that now, I've got a plait coming out here, so I'll leave 2 pairs out, and in each pin in this pattern you're leaving 2 pairs out. Now you're decreasing. So 2 more will be left out over to the pin on the left side. So the next plait over here. So those 2 are left out. The next one on the right is the 3rd plait left out, and then you're down to the bottom pin with 2 pairs. Just do that, and the last one, and then we just plait those again. So I'm now going to go over to the other side, and I'm going to start on this side in exactly the same way. Get this trail in, get the plaits in, I get this centre bit of ground finished so I can continue to work in the centre here. Right, so once you get to this point on the ready to start the head, you'll notice at the start of the head you've got 4 pairs coming in. You've got 2 coming in from plaits either side, and you've got the 2 pairs from the antennae in the colour. So what we do to start off with, we treat these, the coloured ones, the antennae, as a single pair, and we do a single cloth stitch without putting a pin in, and just tension that up. Now if you've got your plaits done nice, it won't pull up too far. We then take the 2 pairs on the left through the 2 pairs coming in from the plait and treat it as gimps. These are now going to be gimps around the outside of that head. So we'll put the 2 twists on after the gimp, and the same on the other side. And this was just a neat way I discovered that I could do the head in half stitch and have the gimp disposed of, or the antennae threads disposed of, quite easily. And then for the top pin we just do a cloth stitch with the background colour just to get the top pin in, and then decide which way you're going to go, and it's just worked in half stitch. So I'm going to work with the 2nd pair from the left in half stitch. Nothing coming in at the next pin, so I need to put an extra twist on, take it out through the purple, the gimp, 2 twists on, and bring it back in. Now you can either put the pin in on the inside of the gimp or on the outside, and I'm just checking, I don't know which one I did. I'm not sure which I did, I can't tell on the photographs, I haven't got the lace to hand. So I'm going to put it on the inside to make the outline of the head with the purple gimp smoother, and then just half stitch across, and the same on that side, nothing coming in, extra twist on, take the worker out through the gimp, 2 twists on, and then back in through the gimp and 2 twists, and the pin up on the inside. If you put it on the outside you get a little bit of a knobbly edge, and if you're wanting a nice smooth edge for the head, I think the pins are better on the inside. Now I can't actually go too much further because I haven't got this row of ground down, but this time you would have 2 pairs coming in, and you would take them in and then work back across and 2 in on the right hand side, and you would have a nice little head. And I'm going to try and get that row done so I can show you what happens. This side's ready to go in, and I can continue that in a minute. So I'm working the head in half stitch. This one I've now got this plait coming in, so I'm going to pick up the 4 pairs of bobbins and pass the plait, or the gimp, through the plait, the 4 pairs acting as a gimp, and put the twists on and work this pinhole. And you'll notice on the pattern, the plait comes in and then goes straight back out. So it's not actually going to stay in this area at all. So when I cover the pin, I put the extra twist on and take the pair out. For those 2 pairs, and that becomes the plait back outside. And half stitch across to the other side, and the same happens on the other side. Take the gimp through the 2 pairs. The pairs in the right place. 2 twists on inside the gimp. And then take them back out again. And I always take them straight back out as soon as I've done them, so I don't get confused with what's left in and what's left out. Now the next 2 pinholes, nothing in or out, so I've got to take the gimp, the worker out through the gimp and bring it back in and put the pinhole in the inside. And hopefully you can see it's a nice smooth gimp around the outside of the head. And again this side, out through the gimp, twists on and back in. Now you've only got 4 pairs of bobbins inside for this half stitch, but it does work quite well. It fills up the space quite nicely. And then when you come down to the end, you'll end up with 2 small plaits to go into the body. We're down to the last pinhole, and this is where plaits are going to be from. Now we've got 4 pairs of the background colour, 2 pairs of gimps. We actually want a worker pair for the body, so I'm going to cross the gimps. I'm going to throw out 3 bobbins from each side and keep 1 pair for the actual worker for this part. But I'm going to put the extra twist on all the passives, or the background colour, and take all of these through, cross the gimps on the other side, take those through, and I'm going to decide which one I'm going to keep a pair from actually. I'm not going to take 1 from each side, I'm going to keep 1 pair from one side. So if I have a look at the pinholes and see which side I want to take them. And I think this one on the left hand side is fractionally higher than the right, so I'm going to leave a pair of the deep purple to be the worker for this area on this left hand side. So the right hand 2 pairs will be thrown out, the gimp, and 1 pair from the left. And I'll just untangle them because they're a little bit tangled, to leave a pair out. And this deep purple is not the easiest to see which way it's twisted. And that one's thrown out. So this one will now become the worker. And I'm just going to put a pin in there to start that worker. And I've got 2 plaits then from the background colour to transfer to the next 2 pinholes. Just a couple of half stitches to transfer it across and put a pin up on both of them. And then your worker will start working backwards and forwards in cloth stitch for the body of the butterfly. And this one will actually be worked too, so I'm just leaving it slightly proud to work across to it. And just work across in cloth stitch, get started. Now on both sides you will need a pair dropping out at each of these pins from this trail to come across into the body. And I'm going to count up on the pattern, see how many's in and how many's out. You take them in to start off with and you get about halfway and you start leaving them out. So it does make it quite dense in here. So we're going to start working the body after we've done the gimp around the head in cloth stitch, and we're going to work it until we get down to the point where the leaf tally starts here. So we'll work it down as far as this one. So in my case I've only got probably 2 rows to do there and back, and then we've got the leaf tally to leave 2 pairs out. We work the cloth stitch down to where the leaf tally goes back in, and we then work the leaf tally over the top. Now each of these pinholes at the side, you have 1 pair coming in from the trail, which is coming in from all the plaits you've got coming in and out. So I've only done about 4 or 5 pins on each side just to get this started. So the first one, I'm taking a pair in, and I've just started taking some of the pins out from out the back of the work as well now. So two or 3 rows across until you get to the point where the pin is for the leaf tally. And just look at it, and I think I can probably put the pairs in. Now sometimes you have enough pairs in cloth stitch to leave them out, but as this is right at the start of this area, we're going to need to add 2 pairs in the centre of the cloth stitch. I'm just having a look to see how many pairs I've got in. See, at the moment I've got 6 pairs of passives in, so in the centre between the 3 either side I'm going to put 2 pairs in for the leaf tallies to go down the middle. Just got the bobbins ready. Work through the first 3 pairs, put a pin in the middle. Need to be running out of pins in my pin cushion. And just hang the 2 pairs on in open formation and put 2 twists on one of the pins, one of the pairs, and then cloth stitch straight through the 2 pairs across to the other side. So taking the 1 in on each side. Now, having come across, what we need to do is to lay these 2 pairs to the back of the work or to the side so that you don't work through them. Again, just find the 2 you've added in. So those 2, we can see them moving. And you can either just put them to the back or to the side and continue working then to the pin where the pairs will return into cloth stitch. So you've got a few more rows to do backwards and forwards before we take them back in. Now Bedfordshire's worked from the front side, so you're going to do the leaf once you've completed the cloth stitch area, because this is the right side that you're working from. I'm hoping I've worked down far enough on the right hand side as I've not worked quite as far on the trail, leaving the pairs out as I did on the left. One more row across and then we can do the leaf tally. So now you bring back into the position the 4 bobbins, 2 pairs for the leaf tally, and work the leaf tally over the top of the cloth stitch. I've currently got 11, so you have to position it where it's going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Position it there, so we just separate them out, work the leaf tally, and then it will work back into the cloth stitch. And once the leaf tally is done, put the pin in and then do 1 row cloth stitching it in, and then again lie it back to continue with the overlaid leaves on the subsequent centre of this body. And these are quite small leaf tallies, so they don't take too much weaving. And because you've got a coloured worker in, it will also give a bit more of a contrast. When I first did this design, I did it all in the cream or ecru colour, and the overlaid leaves didn't show up quite so much. But because these are in the cream colour of the background, they will show up a little bit more with coloured worker in, which is an added bonus. And they're also designed to put in a 4-inch ring so that you can actually hang them up at your window, and you get the sparkle of the sequins at your window with the sun on it, and the sun comes back. So just lay it in position over the pin to secure it in place, and then cloth stitch the whole row. Straight the way across the row, just treating them as a normal passive. And this just anchors them down at the point they are in the cloth stitch, but then the leaf is actually completely over the top of it. And then you find your pairs again, so they're now in the middle. And you're starting to get quite a few pairs in, so you have to be a little bit careful of this to find the right ones. Those 2, and again lay them to the back until you come down to the next pinhole. Go. So this one is suspending it between two pairs of passives or two pairs that have been left out at two different pins to join in. And I'm going to use a Lazy Susan. You can use a crochet hook if you want. This is a Lazy Susan. I'll put the sequin onto the Lazy Susan. No, I've got two on there, I don't think so. Oh, if I pull the thread of the Lazy Susan up, and then I'm going to put the first bobbin through that. And this is where your continental bobbins make it a little bit easier. Put the bobbin down, get hold of the sequin and push it onto the thread of the bobbin. Grab hold of the loop, pull the Lazy Susan out and put the second bobbin through the loop. That's one side. Now I don't tend to pull it right up into position because it's easier if it's away from the pins. If you get it right in there where it needs to be, then you can't get your Lazy Susan in because of the pins. If it's down a little bit, it's much easier to do the second sewing. And then you do the same, put the Lazy Susan through the sequin, put the first bobbin through the loop. Try not to get it tangled around the pins. Get hold of the Lazy Susan at the end of the thread, pull it onto the thread of the bobbin, get hold of the loop and put the second bobbin through that loop. Then you've got it joined on to the two threads, then you can gently ease it in place. Now the pattern has got pinholes in it, so if you want the belt and braces you can put the pin in the pinhole. Then after you've done the sewing, put the pin in place, put two twists on, and it's ready then to go into the trail below it. And then you come on to the next one. And do all of those sequins before you get the next trail. So that's the 4 sequins now in place. So what I need to do now is to bring this outer trail down. The next trail to come across is coming from the right hand side on the right wing towards the centre. So again, pairs will be sewn in here, or added in here, to be left out for this secondary trail to pick up the pairs from the sewings, from the sequins. So I'll bring this down, and then the same process will happen with pairs being left out for the leaf tallies and the sequins on the next section. When you come down to the bottom section, again, this outer trail will go in here, and these pairs will be laid in both directions to be over the top of this part here. So again, you're going to start with 2 pairs over a pin and pairs laid in both directions. It just makes it slightly more three-dimensional on the photograph. Where are we? So you've got them going into there and this coming round over the top. The bottom part is again pairs added in to come down there, and it's to give a three-dimensional outer edge to this wing. So I've worked down a little bit further on this piece of lace. I've worked and exposed all the wings here. I've taken some of the pins out on the edge so that you can actually see the progress of it. And now what I've got to do is continue to do the left hand wing. I've already completed the right hand wing. And when you work down, you reduce the number of pairs till you finish at the end here with just 2 pairs. These are fastened off, they're knotted, and then they'll be taken to the back of the work when it's finished, and they will actually just be finished off that way. The second wing is worked down along with the outside edge. The outside edge comes into this wing tip, and then you have to stop at this point because the bottom area of ground needs finishing, and this bottom trail works from the right hand side across the left goes into this wingtip, and again throwing a lot of pairs out, and finish at the very point with just 2 pairs. So that's the journey that I'm now taking with this and the directions I'm going. So I'm going to work most of this off camera because it will get a little bit repetitive. I'll show you the odd little bit speeded up just to keep you amused, for those of you who like a bit longer video. But if you want, you can skip along to the end when we do the join at the end here. I've done a little bit of work off camera, and now we're getting towards the bottom of this motif. I've just got to take pairs in on the edge in both sides. I've done it on the right, but on the left hand side they're coming into the edge trail and then pairs being thrown out. The butterfly tip on this side, again I've already done it on the right, but on the left side I'm going to show you how it all finishes off. We will meet the workers at this pin at the bottom here, in the valley part of the trail. The 2 workers will meet, and then I'll decide which direction I'm going to continue to work backwards and forwards to finish this cloth stitch. When I get towards the edge where this trail comes in, I'm going to stop. I'm then going to do the whole area of ground, and the trail will start from the right hand side and come all the way across again to come into this area here, and then the final bit is the tip being finished. So I'm now taking plaits into this trail, and I'll be discarding pairs from the existing passives as I work to try and keep the numbers down to a reasonable level, so when I join I've not got a huge number left over. So each time throwing a pair out to keep the numbers down, but also taking into account I am still leaving plaits out on the right hand side. So there'll be another plait coming out with 2 pairs in a moment. After this pin, 2 pairs will be left out. I'll just keep an eye on the number of pairs I'm carrying in the trail. Currently got 4, so that's okay. The trail does get wider after the join, so we don't want to throw out too many. And I think 4 or 5 is probably about the right number for this point. You will have another one coming in from the left, and then another one being left out on the right after this join. So the next pinhole in the centre is the one I'm going to join on. I bring the working pair across the centre and then get the one from the left hand side to join it. So work the 2 together in cloth stitch and put a twist on each pair, and then decide whether you're going left or right. And all it is see which one's the highest point. There's not an awful lot in it, so have a look at the number of pinholes you've got. 1, 2, 3, and you've got the same number on the right hand side. So it really doesn't matter. I'm going to go to the right because I know there are more pairs there on the right hand side. And that's just a little bit of personal preference. It's a sort of instinct you develop when you work in Bedfordshire any length of time. You get the instinct as to which way to go, but there isn't a right or wrong in this sort of situation. Now, before I come back, I don't want these 2 purple ones to sit together. They'll show up a lot more, and when I come to throw them out in a few rows, you'll need to have them separately or throw them out on 2 separate rows. So all I'm going to do is to move them. I'm going to put a twist on there so that they are actually separated, and it will dilute the colour a little bit, and they'll be less noticeable that there's a purple pair in with that trail. And you can do this in any position where you're wanting to get rid of a pair like that. And also then when it comes to throwing them out, they are not a pair. Well, they are a pair, but they are not together when they're in the position to be thrown out. So it just helps, and if you've done a couple of rows after doing that, you won't actually see it when you throw them out, not like you're going to leave a hole. So the last plot's coming in from the left. And come back across, and then there's a plot going to be left out on the right hand side. And then you're going to be down to the number of pairs, and you need to assess how many you've got in there, because you will need to throw some out. So I'm leaving 2 out. If you feel at this stage it could do with being a little bit more dense, what you can do is to use a back stitch or use a pin twice. I'm just going to take that one out just to level it up and put an extra row of cloth in, which I think I'm going to do on this case, so it makes it slightly more solid where you've done the join in the middle here. So I've taken the previous pin out. I hold the worker on the inside of the pin as I tension it to pull it up. You don't try and catch the loop of the previous pinhole, and you work back across, and you can do the same on the other side if it needs it. This will just make it a little bit more dense and help with that join in the centre. Now I'm not going to use the previous pin as a back stitch because that's got a plait coming into it, so if I need to, I will use this pin that I'm putting in as a back stitch if it actually needs it. I think it'll probably benefit from it. It will just make it that little bit more dense, but I'm going to throw out a pair on the left hand side as well at the same time, because although I'm trying to push it up and fill that space under the pin where the worker's joined, I don't want it too dense in the cloth either. So as I say, it's about developing that instinct. Now this pin on the right hand side is going to be the one I leave the plait out at. And I can still see a little bit of a vein where I've got those purple ones in. So I think I will do a back stitch again on the left hand side this time to fill it up just that little bit more. Putting the extra 2 rows in and the distance helps to fill that up. So again, use the pin twice, take it completely out, just put it under the workers, put it pin back in, hold the pair of passives on the inside and tension. And I'm going to throw a pair of bobbins out. Now I think at this stage I'm going to get rid of the purple, so I just flick that one under and put it to the back, and that's got rid of that purple pair. So I'm not carrying them anymore, and emphasising that vein as well, a little ladder that I had got, and hopefully that will help close up that gap when I've tensioned. Now I'm down to the last 2 pinholes before the edge trail comes in, which means I've got to do the join here with this trail coming in. I'll be moving across there shortly. Now at this join you'll have 2 plaits coming in. You'll have a plait coming in from here and a plait coming in from there. into this little bit. So knowing they're coming in, I'm going to throw another pair away, put them back. Just take a pair, not next door to each other, so they're not of the same pair, but bobbins 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 on the row. And just to level the pins up, I've done that one again. I want this nice and solid, and I'll throw a pair out. Because I know I've got 4 pairs coming in from here. I've now got 4 pairs left in the existing cloth stitch, and that's ready for those pairs coming in. Now what will happen when you've done the centre ground, this trail coming around will also have 4 pairs coming in. So you want to be ready for that. So that's now ready. I'm just going to put those to one side, and I'm then going to bring this trail down so that that is ready. I won't be able to take the trail into this tip of the wing until I have done all of the ground in the centre and brought the trail across. So I'm just going to put these back on a shoelace to hold them in position at the way and come back across this side. Again, I'm taking pairs in, discarding them, throwing existing pairs out. So I'll just whisk through this, and I'll probably speed it up on the video a little bit, so I won't do any talking. It is quite strange if you try and speed it up with talking on it, as it sounds like a cartoon character if you do that. I've now got the edge down to the one more pinhole on the inside, and then it'll be coming 2 tiny little plaits across there. So I've got to get rid of this gimp in the middle, and I'll take the right hand one through the left pair, the left hand one, the right hand one through the right pair, and put them to the back. So they've just overlapped a little bit, and take them through. And then I've got 2 pairs of passives, a worker and the edge pair, to become the plaits to finish the piece off. So I'll get down to those, and I'll do the 2 little tiny plaits so they're actually ready then to come into the wing tip once I've done the centre piece, all the ground, and brought the edge in, the bottom edge in round to meet it. So those 2 are now ready to come in. They will sit there until we finish, and the end will finish the edge trail, and that will all finish in the same piece. So they're ready and waiting, ready for the final piece. I'll then come to the centre, and I'll do all of the centre. I'll show you a little bit of it on camera, but there's quite a lot of it, and it takes a long while for videos to upload sometimes, so I do cut a little bit of it out when it's very repetitive. we're now ready to start the edge. We've got 2 pairs from one plait which will become the passives. We've got 2 pairs from the second plait which will become the worker and the change of worker edge. So we're going to put the gimp in between those 2 pairs. I've just put a little pin in there to hang the gimp on, so we can start off with that in the correct position. And we'll cloth stitch through the first one and do the change of the twisted gimp all the way down here as well. So we've got the 2 pairs of passives, one either side the gimp, and we're away. And all the time we're going to take in the pairs from the plaits and throw them out as we go to get rid of all of these pairs we've currently got coming out of the ground. So again, I'll just finish this a little bit further on and then come back to camera when you can see the progress. I'm sure you all know now how to work the trail with the twisted gimp in, and we'll get to the more interesting bit of finishing off very, very shortly. So I've now done all of this edge along here, taking the pairs in, the plaits as they come into it, throwing passives out that have been in the trail the longest to reduce the numbers down to the 4 pairs that we need for 2 plaits to come into the final bit of the wing tip, and we've still got the gimp in. So because we've got one more pinhole left on the outside, I'm going to get rid of the gimps by again passing the left through the left pair and the right through the right pair, and then throwing them to the back, just so they've got something in there to hold them in place, even if it is only 1 pair. And then I'll do 1 row of cloth stitch afterwards, again just to try and hold them in place. This isn't going to be a piece of lace that's going to be handled a lot. I'm going to mount it onto a ring for hanging at a window or something of that nature, so hopefully it won't be handled. So there shouldn't be too much of a delicate situation there. And then I'm going to just do the 2 little plaits from the 4 pairs that I've got left, 2 from the edge and 2 passives, and they're ready to go into the antennae. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more for you so we can see. I just zoomed out so you can see the trail. So now what we've got left is the passives from the wingtip, the 2 pairs, 2 plaits from the left hand side and the 2 plaits from the right hand side. So now I'm going to go backwards and forwards. I'm going to take these plaits in at the next 2 pins on each side. I'm going to continue to throw out pairs in the wingtip, and when I get down to the last pairs, the last pins, I want to be down to 2 or 3 pairs at the absolute most, including the worker. 2 ideally, but if you've got 3 and you just can't get rid of it, that will work as well. And all we will do at the tip is to knock them off, and then they'll be taken to the back of the wingtip and sewn in. And I use a little technique with a little worm buttonholing over the threads just to secure them and make them as neat as possible. And if you've only got 2 pairs of bobbins to do that with, that's the ideal number to really do it with. And so you'll have a tiny little worm of buttonhole stitch over the threads. I'm taking these pairs in, I'm throwing pairs out on every single row to try and reduce them down. And by now you've got a very big stack of bobbins at the back of your pillow. Taking pairs out that haven't just come in, obviously, so that they're held in the tight cloth as long as possible to secure them. And we've almost finished this motif. It has been quite a long video, but I hope you've made it this far to be able to finish your butterflies. I'd love to see what colours you've done them in, because every colour makes the butterfly look so totally different. So if you want to drop me a message or an email with a photograph on, I'd love to see them and see what colours we've come up with. Now, as soon as I get outside, I was going to say as soon as I get outside it we'll have picots, but I don't think I did them on the other side. I think I just left them as winky pins, so we won't need to worry about that. You can do them as picots if you want, but remember to do it the same on both sides. And don't forget to keep throwing pairs out. You should have enough rows left to throw out as many as you can. And get this little point quite tight on the cloth stitch to hold everything securely. Still got quite a lot of pairs in at the moment. And the pairs are reducing nicely now. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me a comment. Let me know how you like the longer videos. I know they're not everybody's cup of tea, but hopefully when I've put the chapters on you can skip to the bits you need and help you along with this design. I'm planning lots of more videos soon, so please subscribe. It really does help me know that you're out there and watching the videos. Also helps the YouTube algorithms, and they continue to show the videos to new lace makers if the new people are finding them useful. So thumbs up, subscribe, notifications clicked, and comments are greatly appreciated. And you can let me know if there's something else you'd like me to see. Video so you can see it in progress. I have a lot of work on though, so I don't guarantee I'll get them done quick. If you've just bought the pattern and you need it now, that's not going to happen. But I will do my best to help you, as always. You might be one of the lucky ones though. Pick a pattern I'm just in the process of filming. You never know. Right, I'm getting down them now. I've only got 3 passives plus the worker and 2 pinholes. So that is a perfect number to get rid of, to be at the last pinhole with the right number of pairs that I wanted to finish. So the last pin's now going in, and I can either finish it at 3 or I can throw one more pair out, and because I'm going to cover the pin and knot them, that will hold those as well. So cover the pin, knot both of those pairs, and then they're ready to take all of those bobbins off the pillow. Take the pins out in the centre, give it a quick trim, and then we've got it off the pillow. And I'll come back to you and show you how I'm going to mount it on the ring. I've used 4-inch Dreamcatcher rings for this design, and you can get them in a silver finish and a gold finish from any of your local crafts shops. If you've got a local craft shop, I know in the States quite a few of the Hobby Lobby type shops have them, but you can get them on the big name online shopping stores as well. So that's that knotted off now, and a quick zoom out, and you've got a lot of ends to trim off and a lot of bobbins to cut off as well. And I'll come back to you when I've got some of the pins out and it's trimmed up, and then I'll come back to you again and show you putting it on the ring if you want to mount it in the way that I designed it to be used. The actual lace is now finished, and all I need to do now is to take the pins out and to mount it on the ring. And the ring I've chosen is a silver one, and it will just be stitched to the back of that foot side so that you can actually hang it in the window or do what you like with it. You can of course mount it into a frame and use it flat, that's not a problem as well. I'll show you when it comes off the pillow in a few moments. All the pins are now out of the pattern, out of the piece of lace, and this is it before I take it off the pattern and then against the dark background. I just now have to mount it on the ring, and all I will do is put a needle and thread through each of the loops and loop it around the ring and continue, and then I'll probably slip along here, along the outline of the ring, and continue along. And this will allow the piece to be held three-dimensionally against the window. I've deliberately left one of the ends long here, and this will help me use this thread up on the ends of the points. And these 2 points again will be just sewn in. And I will show you that again finished. And this is the final piece. It's all now mounted up on the ring. The edge does roll around a little bit around the edge so that it covers the edge a little bit, and it's now ready to hang and sparkle at your window. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, because that really helps me, and let me know if there's anything else you want to see in the near future. I'll keep adding to the list and keep filming videos of things you want to see. Thanks for watching.